why don't you tell us a little bit about highlights from the Newport Beach Film Festival and some of the movies that you saw? You saw quite a few films. So let's launch into that.
I miss that beard.
Alan, tell us what were some of the highlights of the Newport Beach Film Festival, and do you have movies that you would recommend that are coming soon? Obviously, you talked about Weird, the Weird Al Yankovic story, and that one strongly recommend. It's coming out in a couple weeks on Roku. We'll revisit it once it comes out. We'll revisit the film.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I've always loved the Newport Beach Film Festival. It's chock full of films. I think because of the pandemic, what's happening to a lot of these film festivals is, they're only doing essentially night screenings except on weekends. The film festival used to be I could go there, spend the entire day for about 7 days and watch films. And so it's mostly just evening stuff. So I didn't get to see as much as I wanted to. And that's always the problem is, trying to figure out based on the, based on the synopsis, which one you can see. I'll just start with what I've seen the last few days. I saw Broker, which is from Hirokazu Koreeda, the famous Japanese director. It's about these human traffickers in South Korea who are trying to sell a baby boy, and gets caught up in the mob. It's a very dramatic, heartfelt movie. Also saw Aisha yesterday with Letitia Wright. I'm going to go quickly because I don't think you're going to be too interested until I get to Devotion. But Aisha Wright plays a Nigerian refugee who's trying to stay in Ireland, where she is seeking asylum and has to deal with the immigration to stay there. Yesterday or 2 days ago, I probably wasted my time watching Offbeat Cops, about a cop who gets reassigned to the police band. Yeah, it's just as good as you think that sounds. So let me get to the big one, Devotion. Absolutely love Devotion. Stars Jonathan Major and Glenn Powell. It's the story of Jesse Brown, who is the first naval aviator in naval history. So he's a black pilot. And this is during the Korean War. And it just basically tells his story. And from the Q&A, which I'm going to be posting a bit on the community tab, this is basically Glenn Powell's project. He read the book about Jesse Brown. He decided he wanted to make the movie about it, and so he approached Jonathan Majors, who was in, and then from there they were able to make this film. And it takes place in the Korean War, and the reason I mention that is because this movie really is about not only what it took for Jesse Brown to become a pilot, to overcome obvious racism of the 50s at that time, to just finally reach his goal and be and serve his country. And that's the message you really get across here. And I think as a family of immigrants myself, there's that idea of, I grew up in an all white neighborhood, and there was this feeling that I had to be better than everyone else in order to get noticed, in order to get the jobs that I wanted. And that's exactly how he felt here, is that, he was always going to be disadvantaged. And rather than sulk and whine about the disadvantage, he was determined to become the best. And this is his story. And, it's there's a lot of interesting things that are going on here, because it's not your typical everyone hates him because he's black. At that time, the Navy, the military was starting to accept more and more African Americans into its ranks. And so the ones who were truly racist were the outliers at that point. And now Jesse, his team, the one that are sworn to protect each other, are come to bat for him and begin protecting him. It's a very inspiring story. I think there is a lens in which it might be trying to say something today, but it's very subtle and it's not open. So is it woke? I don't think so. I think it's just a straightforward telling of Jesse Brown's story, and really bringing out the struggles and the challenges he had to be who he was. You know, he was the story is basically the beginning of the Korean War, and his team is the first team to go in with you know, to the start of a new war. And so great movie. I loved it. Oh, you're muted.
When I saw the trailer for Devotion, I just thought, oh, I've seen this movie before.
Yes, Top Gun.
Yeah, it's not just Top Gun. It's just like that story of like, you know, you're not going to accept me because of the color of my skin. I feel like that's the story
See, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. They accepted it. They accepted him, but he had to prove himself to be better than his, you know, the rest of his team in order to feel legitimate. As a legitimate member of that team. So it's an evolution.
So the movie leans into the idea that everything should be merit based.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So it's like science fiction.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, he throughout the film, he refused to allow anyone to show pity on him or need to give him a step up because he was black. You know, it was I needed to be the best, you know, and then also this is the Korean War. One thing they mentioned was there are very few movies about the Korean War. And I think the last movie they mentioned was like 1993 or something was the last movie about that war.
What would you rate it on a 1 to 10 scale?
Definitely 7.5, 8. You know, I think it does lean into the tropes of a biopic. I think that's maybe its only weakness, and I think that's an inherent weakness of that genre of film. Right. When you're just telling someone's story, so it's hard to not keep it out of the narrative range, you know, where you do want to try to say something deeper without coming across preachy. And I think it really fights that line throughout the film.